So today's menu for the kids is, well, let's start off with the Colorado Proud Cheesesteak, which is utilizing local beef and local peppers and local onions actually as well.
District 6 started its farm to school journey back in 2008 when we were approached by a farmer with a crop of cherry tomatoes, and we bought those. It was about $239 and offered those on one day at one of our schools. Fast forward to our most recent school year and we spent nearly $1 million on local products.
Essentially your basic Philly cheesesteak. We call it the Colorado cheesesteak. And also we have some jalapeno cheddar papas, as we call them. Papas is Spanish for potatoes. And it's got a jalapeno cheddar seasoning.
We started with one crop and then added additional crops, and now we've really had success in buying local protein. So we purchase local chicken, local beef. All of our dairy comes from Weld County cows. There's lots of cows up here in Weld County. And we continue to buy produce, whether it's fruit from the western slope like peaches and apples, or year-round crops such as onions and tomatoes and carrots, and really other things. We bought greens and watermelons and cantaloupes and a lot of peppers. We've started making our own green chili that we roast in-house in our central production kitchen, and they're from chilies grown right here in Weld County.
So the Food Hub was born out of local need. There are a lot of school districts in northern Colorado that would like to participate in Farm to School but are lacking the infrastructure or the staff and the training available. So we've been working for many years to get to the capacity that we're at. We've gotten several USDA Farm to School grants to help us buy things like a vegetable agitator sink, a big Robo-Coup chopper, vacuum sealers, and so it really helps with labor and processing capabilities, as well as flash freezing. When we do one day of our potatoes, like today, was about 4,000 pounds of potatoes, so it's a pallet full. We will work with any size producer. As the Food Hub, I really want to be able to aggregate as much local produce as possible, so anywhere from the 1-acre farm to the 1,000-acre farm. We work with some large producers and some very small producers. The bid isn't a contract, it's just an anticipation. So if the farmer's not able to meet what they said they would produce, there's no legal contract requirement or anything like that. So we always have alternate routes, but any size farm we're definitely willing to work with.
So today, district-wide, we've picked a Colorado Proud menu. So we're highlighting some corn chips from Denver, some beans that are produced in Denver, wacky apples from the western slope, and then our salad bar is stocked full of veggies from various local farmers. And then actually our milk comes from Greeley. So that's being served district-wide, but then here at Sunset Middle School, we're actually going to bring in some future Farmer of America students to talk with their fellow students about why it's important to source food locally. And we have some farmers visiting as well who are going to be handing out samples of their produce and then handing out some giveaways.
So one of our original reasons for getting involved with Colorado Proud and Colorado Farm to School is we have a unique opportunity to provide healthy, nutritious fruit for students, and I think it's really important that the next generation learn what apples are and where they come from and how they grow, and that they grow on trees and they start out as a flower, and that they're packed full of nutrients, as well as the fact that they taste good and that an apple picked fresh off a tree is actually really delicious, and it's starting them young to eat healthy, great, nutritious food.
Other Denver public schools, okay? And there's a mixture of zucchini, there's onions, and remember you guys, everything in here is fresh grown in the garden, okay?
We had some kids who came out and harvested a whole bunch of zucchini and tomatoes from our garden, and we are making a dish called calabacitas, and so we're using that zucchini and tomatoes and some other ingredients that were grown at local farms. And we actually have some chefs from a group called Sticky Fingers, and they're letting the kids chop up the veggies. So we have a partnership with Denver Urban Gardens. So we have a combination of plots here where we grow food for our school cafeteria. We have community members who have plots, and then we also have plots that we set aside for members of our school community. I think the most rewarding part of working in the garden is actually the Garden to Cafeteria program, and it's a lot easier than you might think. I would say that I actually don't have a whole bunch of experience as a gardener, but we just do things through trial and error, and there's always something that grows. And so once a week we have kids come out here. We usually have a smaller group, like around 6 kids, that will come out and they'll help us harvest, and they get to see that tomatoes come in all different sizes and colors. They get to see how big zucchini grow. And then after they help us harvest everything, then they help us weigh it. So they realize that, because they know that we actually get compensated for the produce that we provide to the cafeteria. So they're involved in that process as well.
I think one of the misconceptions about buying local is that it's going to cost me more. And certainly it can. Sometimes if you're trying to buy off-season or if you're buying a smaller quantity. But some of the ways we've been able to keep our costs in check is to really combine our buying power within a district of 21,000 students that's serving 34 locations. We have significant buying power, but we find that we can also get additional savings when we combine with other districts in northern Colorado to really make that offer to our farmers. So we'll release a bid well in advance of when our farmers are putting those seeds in the ground and let them know what products we're looking for, what quantities we anticipate buying. And so they have that information to guide their purchasing. And then later, we're buying that produce when it's in season. It's at its peak and usually at its best price point.
I don't believe that Colorado Proud School Meal Day has to cost any more than a regular lunch does. I actually sit down with our menu planner and our buyer every year during the summer, and we plan out what we're going to serve. And then we just partner with our local farmers and see who can provide us with the produce. We try to give them a heads up as well so they know that it's coming.
Our bid process really starts in December. We took feedback from our growing community, our agricultural community, that we had, before we were putting out in about February, and they were just telling us, well, I buy my seeds in January or over the winter break. And so we've backed up our process, and usually about 8 to 10 of our districts are bidding together. And so we put that out, and that gives them that opportunity to really purchase from the beginning of it.
I think the biggest challenge for both schools and producers is the patience. Often apples don't ripen when we expect them to. We don't know a set date. We don't know when they're going to come off the tree and when we can get them to the hands of children. And I think that's our biggest challenge, as well as the school's biggest challenge, is the timeline. So having a little patience and understanding to be able to, give a week each direction on when the fruit and products will be ready.
Sometimes people wonder, how can I get started in farm to school? And the first thing I always tell them is just start small. Start with one crop or one agricultural product and get your feet wet, get the systems down. It certainly is different to take, for instance, lettuce that maybe you're used to purchasing in a bag and it's pre-washed, to now get heads of lettuce that come in and they've got dirt and sand in them and you need to wash them 3 times and chop them up. So that takes some time. So don't be afraid to start small. Get the buy-in from your administration and your community. Farm to School is a great calling card for a school district. People love that we're taking our local tax dollars and reinvesting it in our communities.
I think it's important for the kids to understand where their food is coming from, because they drive by these fields every day, and it's good for them to understand that that's the food that's supplying their community. And it's also cool for them to understand the global impact that they can have by sourcing locally.
We grow a lot of cherry tomatoes, and kids love cherry tomatoes. And just today when I was in the cafeteria, I saw that they had the cherry tomatoes out in the salad bar, and kids were just scooping them up. And so we think that by having kids come out to the garden and harvest, that they're more likely to try those tomatoes or whatever we harvested in the cafeteria, but also to talk to their friends about it as well.